I'm going to show you how to do a beachy, messy, loose wave today. Now it's very simple, you don't have to do much. So first of all you need to use a holding product, and preferably a holding product without any moisture in it. So it needs to be a product exactly like my anti-gravity or hair resort. So first of all you've got to make sure that the hair is slightly damp. So lightly spray the hair with a bit of water. It's best not to start when it's too wet because you don't really want to spend too much time drying the hair, and you want to try and keep a bit of natural texture in the hair as well. So take your anti-gravity, so take a little bit onto the hands and apply it through the ends and the mid-lengths of the hair. So I don't really like a lot of height, so you don't really want to put a lot of volume into the top, so that's why we keep it away from the roots. Then you simply dry your anti-gravity into the hair. It needs to be dry, so make sure that you actually over dry it a little bit. Now, just get that nice and dry, always lifting the hair up at all times. Your aim here is not to put too much product in the hair because the hair will do everything you need it to do, just don't lay it up with stuff. So just give the hair a quick dry off, keeping the natural texture into the hair. Now, when you're starting to curl the hair, your aim is to curl the mid-lengths of the hair. You don't want to curl the ends, and you don't want to curl the roots. So make sure that when you do the first section, you take that entire top section. So whoop, that entire thing. So a nice long section gives you a nice wall of curl. When you put your tong in, you go straight in, always horizontal, never vertical. As soon as you go vertical, you get gaps. So hold it about 3 inches away from the scalp, wrap it around, and make sure that you only wrap it around about 2.5 times. Leave it on for a few seconds until you feel like you can't touch the top anymore. And then you make sure that you leave as much end as you do root as well. That's a very sort of important factor. Then you hold that one out, then you come around to this side, go from side to side to side to side. Never start at the underneath because it just takes too long. Come in on this side, wrap it round, again leaving as much root out as you do end. Put your finger on there. I normally count to about 50, but it sort of takes too long. If you've got finer hair, you can probably do it in about a count of 20. If you've got thicker hair, then you really should count to 50. And then make sure that you leave that section. Do not touch the section because it's the cooling down of the hair that actually sets the hair. Go to your next section, which will be half of the head. So take off section to just behind the ear and take that entire section. Don't worry about using a comb or anything because you want to have a bit of a rough texture anyway. Wrap it round. Always remember keeping the tong horizontal, never vertical. As soon as you go vertical, you can see all the drag that creates. So you don't really want to create a lot of drag because you're going to end up with gaps at the end. People don't leave their tongs on long enough, so it's very important at this stage to make sure that you do have the hair nice and hot. And then let go. And then again, take that entire side in one section. So you go straight in, straight around, nice and particular, getting it around nice and smooth around that tong, and always holding it horizontal. And then undo, again, not too much volume at the sides, let that completely cool down. And we'll take another section through here, so straight across the back. So again, you can see it's a nice chunky section. We'll take a little doobalaki and go again. You want to get a bit more movement in the back, so I'd get it around 3 times around. So that's going to make sure that I've got enough volume and movement in the back of the hair. And also, again, same amount of roots, same amount of ends. It gives you a much more natural feel. By having it curled up on the ends, it just makes it too debutante. And this way you don't get like spiral curls, you get a very sort of beachy, messy, loose effect. That one's done. Your next section runs at the nape. And it's like it's a little half section, so you go half, 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 half. You get the whole thing done in about 6 sections. Now, it's very important here not to use a product that contains too much moisture, because moisture and hold fight each other, so you don't really want to put too much moisture in, otherwise your style's not going to hold. So be very careful. A slight dryness to the feel of the styling product is actually what you need to get. And you can put in a bit of moisture at the end if you really need it, but remember, curls and moisture aren't friends. Pass that down there. Again, move to your next section, which is straight across here. Now you don't need to use sectioning clips. This is why I like to start at the top of the head, because that way you can just go straight down to the hair. You're not disturbing the hair too much, because the aim is to get a natural texture. So if you're disturbing the hair, you're not going to get a natural texture. So keep the hair as simple and as undisturbed as possible. So again, you can see how much end as I have root. Put your little finger on there until that feels too hot to touch, then you know it's ready. Again, pop that down, go straight through. So you're pretty much doing the whole thing in about 6 sections, so it's very quick and easy. I'm using less, or I'm leaving less of an end out once we get to the bottom, because I want to get a bit more width from the actual hair, so the hair looks a bit thicker. So slightly, I'd say 3 inches root and 2 inches end. Last section. So you don't worry about any of that drag, because it only makes the style look more natural. Now, as you can see at the moment, it doesn't look like it's got any movement in it at all. Then what you will do is you'll take either your hands or a very wide tooth comb. The wide tooth comb being this one. It needs to be this wide, because then it's just like your hands going through. Now, what you do is you loosen up the sections with your comb. So just ever so lightly comb those sections through. So just give them a very light sort of comb. Now you really need to wait until the product or the hair has cooled down before you start this process, because it's the cooling down that sets the hair, not the heating up. And a big section will give you a nice big curl, which is what we're all after, really. You'll see at this stage it looks a bit sort of fizzy, and the finishing product will actually collect it all together, and so that'll give you your definition and also get rid of some of those like fizzy bits. I always make sure that I get a nice, smoother sort of hairline. I've never really seen a curly fringe that I liked, so it's good if you can really pull that out a little bit there before applying finishing product. And what actually happens is, the way that we use the tong, the actual crest looks like a curl, so it actually really holds in, but it's actually only really a crest that you're seeing. So now we take our finishing product, and the finishing product is motion lotion. So motion lotion, when you're applying onto the hair when it's dry, use about that much. When you're applying onto the hair wet, you can double that amount. Because the product is water soluble, it tends to blend with the water. Now, rub it all over your hands, take all the hair at once, so lift the whole thing up. Lift up, lift up, lift up. Now this product works very fast, so you've got to work quickly with it. So the best way to get it through all the ends is to go like that and distribute that. That'll get it onto every end. So you keep scrunching until you feel the product is sort of dried in your hands. Once dry, you can let it go. And that really, solidifies up the style, but keeps it still very, loose and messy. Because if you're going for the beachy look, you really need to let go of a bit of control. Now, if you find that you want to smooth it out a little bit more, the good thing about the motion lotion is you can actually brush or comb afterwards, and the hairstyle keeps its style, but will just sort of soften you down a little bit more. And that allows those ends to blend a little bit as well. You can see even by not curling the ends, it just puts that slight bit of movement, or gives the illusion of movement. And you can see the texture that's giving you in the back. I'm sure you can out there. And now you can either apply a little bit of hairspray if you felt like it. I'm not a big hairspray user, so I think when you're using these sorts of styles, or when you're using this sort of technique, you really want it to be quite loose and quite messy. So don't be afraid to let it be messy. So there we go, there's a nice little beachy look for you, and done in 2 minutes.